Ooh, ooh. Hi, big fish-ish. Y'all know what it is. Out in Oklahoma right now at our grow house. Yeah. We're doing a little bit of everything. And was thinking about a couple different things yesterday that kind of opened my eyes. And, I'm always looking for new perspectives to see different things through. If I see it from a different perspective, I may be given a new solution or a new way to go about it. And what I was thinking about is that people, like the powerful people, they're in a war every day for power, a war every day to influence people to do things that are in their best interest. We talked a little bit about this when we were talking about the truth. How we said, the truth is almost irrelevant. What matters more is power and persuasion. So why I said that, leads into this, where, you have a couple powerful people that are really just looking to control people. And they all have different strategies of how they'll go about controlling that particular group. Usually it's based on how they can appeal to that particular group while doing the least amount to win their loyalty and support. So they're looking like, hey, what's the least the most efficient way and least costly, whether that's through money, effort, and energy, what's the least costly way that I can win this particular group's support and their following. So what these powerful people do is they'll go to certain people in those groups, usually the most extreme people in those groups are the ones willing to push the envelope the most, to be the most extreme, to go out there and be the biggest fans, aka fanatics, for that particular agenda. And whether that means standing on the issues that that particular person really wants, but more so, once they become fanatics of that particular group, they're pushing the overall agenda, like the entire agenda. And what they use is, so they influence this group of people to be extreme. Sorry about that. Hopefully it goes away in a second. But they use a particular group of, the ones willing to be extreme. They'll support their efforts, provide monetary support for their efforts, provide networking support for their efforts, and do anything that they can to win that particular group's loyalty. So when you have the extremists that are running around here, whether it's with Black Lives Matter, the extremists in that group, or the LGBTQ community, or whether it's the feminist movement, or whether it's Democrats, whether it's Republicans, you get these people to appeal to a particular group that does not feel that they've been seen or heard. So we all have issues, right? We all have issues, and we all feel that some of our issues aren't addressed. So what's more appealing than to hear somebody, it's windy out here, I'm in Oklahoma, but what's more appealing than to hear somebody provide a solution to a problem that you're already feeling, but you feel like nobody else addresses it, right? So they may be addressing they may be addressing your problem, but they're also addressing maybe 50 other things. Well, what happens is we just lock in with the issues that we have a problem with. We don't really care about the other 50 things on the agenda that we'd be supporting as well. So what happens is you get these groups of people that will support a larger group, and simply because they believe in maybe one agenda item on their list, but then they just decide to either blindly follow when it comes to the rest, or they just, will just not make it an issue. They won't stand up and say like, yo, we understand that, we want this issue solved, but as far as everything else, like that's a problem. That doesn't align with our principles, doesn't align with our morals. And we see that all the time. Because when you talk to, and why I'm discussing this is because I feel that we're more we're more alike than a lot of people that we tend to be on the other side of the fence with. There's some people that are, on the other side of the fence and all the way down the road and all the way down to another state, whatever. But there's other people that are on different sides of the fence, but are extremely close to each other. However, they align with groups that are polar opposites. So how does this happen? Well, exactly what I'm saying as far as, that group, and I'll give real life examples. I'll sit down with plenty of Democrats and I'll hear them talk, and they'll have very conservative, traditional values and principles. And I'll sit there and I'm thinking, and I'll tell them, 90% of what you stand for aligns with the Republican Party, not the Democrats. But then they'll have maybe one issue. It could be one thing where they feel that the Democrats appeal to them in, or at least are on the right side of the fight, and will ignore the other 9 because that one is probably a little bit more emotionally triggered, and it's a particular area where you feel that you haven't been seen or you haven't been heard, and here this person is extreme enough to go out and actually fight that battle on your behalf. So this is what happens in all these groups, and what it does is it causes, you have that extreme, 10% of the population setting the tone for the rest of the 90%, and the 90% most of the time just sits back and lets that 10% just lead them any way without saying anything, because of all the reasons that I just named. But it creates an issue because the 90% of this particular group and the 90% of the group that's supposed to be its polar opposite are probably a lot more similar than the 10% wants us to believe, because the 10%, they just want to be extreme. They're getting paid to be extreme. They're getting paid to push all of these different agendas. They're getting paid to encourage the rest of the 90% that, hey, we're working on your behalf. Don't get upset. We're here for you. All these different things, because once you have that, you can lead them any different way. We saw this a lot with when Barack Obama was president. It's like certain stuff that black people wouldn't have been traditionally aligned with, we just kind of let it go because it's like, oh, nah, Barack put his name on it. What does Barack think about it? All right, Barack likes it, we're good. And we just started fighting against everybody who, kind of came against Barack, So, and shoot, I was in that bunch, and now I'm on the other side of it because I probably critique Barack as much as anybody, because I just saw the swindle. You see the hustle, and you see how these people just push the top percentage of people in a particular area to win the attention of everybody else. They did it. Hold on. I'm gonna give you another example of when they did it, when this wind dies down. But yeah, check it out. It's country. It's country. But I'll give you a prime example. When the Barclays were opening up, they were opening up the Barclays Center, but they had to convince a lot of the community to be okay with tearing down that particular neighborhood just to put that arena in there, taking jobs from people, taking homes that people had lived in for generations. But how did they convince the people in that black neighborhood to get on board with it? They used Jay-Z as a pawn, but made him out to look like a king. You feel me? So what they did was they made it seem as like Jay-Z was the one that was opening the Barclays, when afterwards we all found out that he was like a 1% of a 1%, 0.001% of that type of owner. But he was put as the poster child for it just because it would convince everybody else, the other 99% of people, to get on board with it, even though it was not in our best interest. It was in Jay-Z's best interest because it was a monetary gain. He was getting paid from it. Like I said, the powers that be will always pay these top people to get the rest of the population to believe in something and to support it and to promote it and to fight for it, even though it doesn't benefit them. And I guess where I'm going right now was more so, everything that I already told you was just to support this particular point. where, I'm always thinking of ways like, how can we come together to all just see that a lot of these agendas are BS, and a lot of the stuff that we're pushing for, we don't even believe in, and it doesn't benefit us. So, I was figuring out like, okay, boom, how can the 90%, the majority of the people in these polarizing groups, a lot of the groups when we're on opposite ends of the spectrum, a lot of us are closer. A lot of us are a lot more alike. A lot of us have similar interests. A lot of us have similar just overall things that would benefit the 90% of this group as well as the 90% of that group. But we keep getting played against each other. So I'm actively, like, as I'm talking to y'all, trying to figure out a way to bring the 90%ers together. Because if we bring the 90%ers together, then we can come to some common understanding rather than just fighting, so the 10% continues to benefit. Because the 10% of any group benefits, regardless of, whether or not, like, the more extreme, the better. The more extreme the news, not only do the liberal stations benefit, but the conservative stations benefit. The more extreme Donald Trump is, the more the liberals benefit. You get what I'm saying? So they're always going to try to push for extremism on either side, whether they're highlighting the negative, the quote unquote negative things of another extreme group, or highlighting the positive things, of course, that their particular group does. So this is just an ongoing conversation, but really wanted us to figure out how the 90s can come together, because I'm seeing a lot of videos, talking to a lot of people, and realizing that most of us, we are a lot more similar than we would believe, just because a lot of our leaders are those extremists that keep telling us that we're not alike and that this does not benefit them. But in all actuality, like I said, we're a lot more similar than we like to think, or that maybe that we can imagine. But when we just figure out different ways to come to the table without being fanatics of particular groups, and just looking at it from a standpoint where we're a little bit less emotional, more logical, so we can, put down that guard of this group hates me, that group hates me, and really just understand each other's perspective, then we can start, developing that power, that influence, bringing it together to benefit everybody. So I think that's what the goal is. That's what the goal should be, for us to just figure out different ways to come together and execute on what people really need to get to whatever goal that they're looking for, to just get to whatever they're desiring in life, because like I said, it's not that one thing may help me. Right now, what I should say, it's always looked at, and a lot of it's because who we're following. Something that helps this particular group is going to hurt that other particular group, but it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be that. That's just the extreme game that a lot of these power people play, just to make sure that they have you on their side, because the more extreme they can make it, the more loyalty they'll have with their particular group, where people will just support them, promote them, and do it in a way where they don't even question anything that they do. It's just the sheep mentality. So it's time for us to kind of come together, sit down at the table and just figure out how we can remove a lot of the emotions that these leaders and agendas trigger out of us and bring out of us, in order for us to just blindly follow them. So that's what I got for y'all. Maybe we'll elaborate on this once I hear some of y'all feedback, but just want us to leave with the thought that, when you talk to people, remove the emotions and just sit down and figure out what this particular group's looking for to be successful, and then vice versa. They can learn a little bit more about what your group needs to be successful. We're a lot more alike. All right, we are a lot more alike. So I'll let y'all go. Enjoy your day. Get to the bag. It's the weekend, but that doesn't stop anything. So just get to it. Onward and upward, strength and honor. And I'll see y'all soon. Ew.